Well, it looks like Jason Whitlock has now earned himself another spot on my Bed Bucking Hall of Shame videos, and if I'm not mistaken, this might be his third entry. I want y'all to go ahead and listen to what he says when it pertains to the death of Tyre Nichols, and I put him and Tucker up here together because this is who show he was on when he said what he said. I'm telling you, it's absolutely ridiculous. But it's also very untrue about what he said as well. And if I was the person he was referring to, I would sue him for defamation of character.
I felt guilty putting that video on the screen, not because I was on anyone's side. I felt obviously bad about it. It was horrible. But because you don't want to put ugly things on TV and inflame passions. You want people to be reasonable and think things through and reach wise decisions. Why would news organizations, I mean, they really want to make people enraged. Clearly.
They don't want us focused on reality. Hey, if they want us to devote an hour of coverage to this and weekend coverage of this, and they want to take us to a good place, I would examine the racial element of this, because there is a racial element. And this is a story about young black men and their inability to treat each other in a humane way. Everybody involved in this on the street level was either 24 to 32 years old. Everybody. It was a group of young black men, 5-on-1. Looked like gang violence to me. It looked like what young black men do when they're supervised by a single black woman. And
did you hear that? Now, the whole video isn't even done yet. That's just the first minute. Let me address Tucker Carlson with his very condescending comments. Tucker, you know you got a kick out of this. You know you could not wait to put this up here and couldn't wait to have that buck dancing, biscuit eating buffoon sitting next to you to come up there and say what he said. So Tucker Carlson, he can shove it because he knows he enjoyed this. He enjoyed putting this out there. This was entertainment for him. As for Whitlock, y'all heard what he just said. He couldn't wait to lean into the, oh, this is black on black crime. Oh, this is just typical of black men to do. They were all in the ages of between 24 and 32. He's using that typical talking point. He couldn't wait to lean hard into that. And I'm noticing that a lot of PC individuals and these bootlegs are loving this right now because they have for so long been pushing the whole black on black crime, 30% of the population, 50% of the crime thing narrative for so long, but they've never had an opportunity to push it on a scale like this where it's these black cops that murdered this black man in the style that they did it. So now they are going to revel in this. As a matter of fact, I had posted a short video talking about how black people are dealt with when it comes to quote unquote resisting arrest versus how it is with other people. And I had some trolls come up in there and, you know, they say the typical things that they say. And some of them are so leaning in onto the part about if you don't resist arrest, you won't be shot. I'm like, Tyre Nichols, for one, wasn't even resisting arrest, and two, he wasn't even shot. But see, that's what they're so used to seeing, and they love it so much. And they say, well, you can't blame white people on this one. This is all black people. They love hearing this. They love it. And then you hear what Whitlock just said about this is just typical of black men to do this. This is just so typical, like this is something that happens all the time. As if he's not a black man himself. He walks around like he got a squeaky clean image, like he has not done anything wrong. There's nothing flawed about him at all. There's a few things, a lot of things flawed about him. But what gets me is at the end when I paused it, because I'm gonna play the rest of it, is really the cusp of the video. When he says, this is what happens when black men are being led by a single black woman. In other words, he used the trope of she almost like she's a single mother and she has black sons that are running amok because there's no father around. That's really what he was saying. That's really what he was pertaining to. First off, this woman is not the mother to any of these men. If she is a mother, I'm very certain that her child is rather much younger than these guys are. So to put that onto her, that's absolutely insane, because the chief down there who puts the charges on them is a black woman. So now they're starting to lean heavy into her and trying to make it seem like she's wrong for what she did. See, that's where the racial element really kicks in right there. Not with what happened with the death and the murder of Tyre Nichols, but the other stuff that's being said and pushed, like what he just did, that could be seen as a racial element. When people, I keep telling people, you do not have to be white to be a white supremacist. You're looking at two of them on your screen.
That's what they got going on in the Memphis Police Department. They've elected some or put some black woman in charge of the police force, and we're getting the same kind of chaos and disunity and violence that we see in a lot of these cities that are run by single mothers.
Huh? He said we're getting a lot of see what happens when you hire a black woman to run this stuff. You're getting the same kind of vibe when you have single mothers running the city. Single mothers running the city. What the? I have to keep my voice down. What is he talking about? I keep telling y'all, I remember when people tried to give Fat Lock some kind of pass or leeway when he was saying certain things, I think when it pertained to Kyrie Irving last year. I did not. And I kept telling people, do not give this man a pass just because he said something that sounded kind of right. Because the minute that you do, he's going to flip and go right back to his same old ways. And look at what he just did. I called it. I tell you, do not let your guard down when it comes to these Sambos. Please do not do it. Because then when he feels he's in or comfortable, what he going to do? What you just heard in the video. And I'm playing this video, this audio, because I need y'all to hear for yourself what he said. Not many people know what he said.
If we want to discuss the breakdown of family that leads to disrespect for authority, that causes you to resist the police and run from the police and not comply with the police because you resist authority at all time, because there was no male authority in your home, let's have that discussion. But that's not where they want to take us. They want to take us down the path of saying, you know what, this is Tucker Carlson's fault. This is some random white, this is Donald Trump's fault.
No one is saying that it's Tucker Carlson's or Donald Trump's fault. You're saying that. You're putting words in our mouth. See, this is exactly why these Sambos cannot speak for us. Did you just hear what he said? He tried to put words in our mouth and saying that it was Tucker Carlson's fault or that it was Donald Trump's fault. Yeah, he's using it as an example, but we're not saying that it was their fault. We are putting the blame on those 5 cops. We're not putting it on anybody else. But you know what you just did, Fat Lock? You put the blame on this black female police chief. That's what you just did. It's not even her fault. These 5 individuals took it upon themselves to kidnap, in so many words, and beat Tyre Nichols to death on camera for the world to see. They made that decision. She didn't tell them to go out there and do that. Her being in that position has nothing to do with it. And he said that she's a single woman. I wonder if this woman is married. I'm curious. And there's an article that's going to go along with this. And I'm going to read that article too, because it's going to go in more depth.
It's the breakdown of family and the buying in to all these left-wing things have nothing to do with promoting family.
You've been on the show so many times, and every single time you say something I never would have thought of, including what you just said, and I appreciate it. Jason Whitlock.
Of course you wouldn't have thought to say any of that stuff, Tucker. I mean, well, to be honest, you probably would have. But see, what y'all just heard there is what I talk about all the time when I tell you that the white supremacists will use the bootleg as a shield. Like Tucker Carlson, all he said at the beginning was, I never would have thought I would have put something on my show like this. Yes, you would have. You do it all the time. But then after he said just a little bit, he let Jason Whitlock take over the whole thing and speak nothing but negative, dark, trifling, disgusting narratives about black people who he looks like, for over a minute and a half. And then Tucker comes back and says, oh, basically he gave him a pat on the head and his little Scooby snack and sent him on his way. I keep telling y'all, that is the role of the buck dancer, is to be the shield for the white supremacists. You just heard that in 2 minutes and 2 seconds of audio. If I didn't stop the audio, that's how long the audio is. It's 2 minutes and 2 seconds. You just heard it for yourself, how that breaks down. And that is the role of every Sambo. Every last one of them, that is what they do. That is their part. Now, what I'm going to go ahead now and do is I'm going to read the article, because people went in. Like, the article was posted on today, January 27th, a little over about 2 hours ago. And it has already 327 comments, and they are going in on Jason Whitlock for what he said. It said Jason Whitlock said the 5 officers accused of murdering Tyre Nichols did not know how to act because their police chief is a single black woman. As dubious as that idea is, it is also not true. On Friday, the Memphis Police Department released shocking video footage of the arrest on January 7th, which shows some of the officers hitting Nichols, a 29-year-old black man who died 3 days later. The officers, who are also black, have been fired and charged with second-degree murder. Appearing on Tucker Carlson tonight, shortly after the video was released, Whitlock blamed the mere identity of the Memphis police chief for the incident. Aside from the wrongness of blaming Nichols' death on the police chief's status as a single black woman, Chief Saralyn Davis is actually married to a retired law enforcement officer and has 1 daughter, according to her bio on the Memphis Police Department website, which he did not bother to read. If I was her, I would sue him for defamation of character, because that man literally tarnished her character on live television, and with Tucker Carlson of all people, by throwing on one of the most serious stereotypes that you could throw onto a black woman today. And that is being an unkept single black mother who has unruly children. Davis has served in the role since 2021 after a stint as police chief in Durham, North Carolina, and as a deputy chief in Atlanta. You've been on the show so many times, Carlson told Whitlock, and every single time you say something I never would have thought of, including what you just said, and I appreciate it. Of course he does. Because that means Tucker Carlson doesn't have to say it. That way people won't call him a racist. Don't worry, Tucker. Even if you didn't come out of your mouth and say it, you're still that. You're still a racist. It says Whitlock is a frequent guest of Carlson's. Last year, he told the Fox News host, "I am probably a sexist pig." You probably are, but you most definitely are a pig in every sense of the word. You are it and you look it as well. I'm going to read to you some of the comments that was left, because it was 327. I'm not going to read. It's 403 now, but I'm not going to read all of them. Someone said, Whitlock is the Stacey Dash of Candace Owens. Niche grifters will hate blacks for whites for money. Let me see, what else are they saying here? Someone says self-hate is a sad sight. Let's see what else it's saying here. Someone else said, why would news organizations want to run this video? They really want to make people enrage. Said Carlson, as video of the beating ran continuously on the right side of the screen. And it did. As a matter of fact, when I was playing the audio on my phone, I actually wasn't even looking at my phone. I literally looked away. I looked to my left just so I wouldn't see that video playing while they were talking the crap that they were talking. Like, I already don't want to watch the video as it is. But to have that video running to the side, and like the commenter said, interesting, Tucker Carlson said, why would any news organization want to run that? But you had the video running on the side. See, that's why I cannot take these people seriously. You cannot take people like Tucker Carlson seriously at all. This man is his stepmother, again, if y'all did not know, is the heiress to Swanson broth. This man has literally been around silver spoons his entire life. This man was literally practically born into white privilege. And this, man, I don't think it's enough words in any language on the planet that can begin to describe my disdain and disgust for Jason Whitlock. I keep telling people over and over again, do not fall for this man's antics as far as him so-called turning over a new leaf, because he said the same things that y'all said or agreed with when it came to Kyrie Irving. I said, okay, they always say a broke clock is right twice a day. His twice has come and gone, if it has ever come and gone. This guy is terrible. Someone else said this guy's an idiot. That's probably why Tucker brings him on his show. I'm gonna see if I can find one more response. Like it's a lot of people just responding to a lot of the comments more so than anything. I can't really find any more, so I'm gonna just go ahead and just stop it right there. But y'all pretty much get the point. This guy is absolute trash. He is one of the worst people. We can put him up there for when he gets his wake up call. We gonna be doing a nice little live stream going in on him because it's ridiculous at this point. Nowhere in any of the commentary did Tucker Carlson nor Jason Whitlock even offer condolences to the family of Tyre Nichols. They didn't say RIP to him or nothing. They went right for the jugular, going straight for the stereotype. Well, more so Jason than anything. But of course, Tucker Carlson is no better because he was enjoying it. But Jason Whitlock, that's just who he is. Like I said, a simple Google search would have told you about this woman. Again, I hope she gets wind of it and sues him as hard as she can for defamation of character by throwing that label onto her. And this woman is married with a child. It would be nice if her husband could catch him slipping. Now that would be interesting. And one last thing I want to say is Jason Whitlock always has this smoke for us, even in mixed company, but he wouldn't dare say this about them even in front of their face because they're not going to allow him to say it. And he knows it. He knows it. That's why he always gets up there and he buck dances for them for reasons unknown. I wonder how much they paid him for this appearance. And it's interesting to me that every time something like this happens, he's always the first person to be called by Tucker Carlson to lean in and give his so-called take about the situation. Like, really pay attention and look back if you don't believe me. Whenever Jason Whitlock gets wind, well, whenever Tucker Carlson or people over at Fox NOOSE get wind of something like this happening, who's the first person they call to go on Tucker Carlson? Jason Whitlock. That's why Tucker was so glad and so happy that Jason was able to come on and give his so-called opinion about what occurred. Like I said, Jason would never, ever voluntarily or involuntarily get out of line and tell them about themselves. Because a lot of the stuff that he's putting on, what he projected in this video, that could be said about them too. That's why it needs to be exposed even more whenever that community does something that they love to throw onto us, and watch the lack of response that he gives, or his tone is different, or he just won't speak on it at all.